This meeting's called to order. For those who care to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, silence to follow. Pledge allegiance, flag, United States of America, to the republic, nation, to God, visible. Justice. Thank you, everyone. For the record, tonight we did have an executive session. Tonight we met in the executive session to discuss coaching contracts, individual personal matters related to positions and performance. Additionally, the Act 44 mandated safety report was provided by the superintendent. Okay, with that, next order of business, please, Terry, roll call.
Mrs. Edmeades. Mrs. Fish.
Here.
Dr. Gatachu. Mrs. Gordon. Mr. Gordon.
Here.
Dr. Gursky.
Here.
Mr. Kirsch.
Here.
Mr. Reichert. Mr. Huron.
Here. Thank you. Second order of business is meeting minutes. We have two on the agenda, 1.3, 1.4. Someone entertain a motion to find those?
A motion.
Okay. Thank you. Terry? Okay.
Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu. Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch.
Yes.
Mr. Reichert. Mr. Huron.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Appreciate that. Next order of business tonight is our board administrative announcements. And the first one is the Columbia Montoya Votech Technical School. And I'm going to defer that. We have a little bit later in the agenda, we'll have our friends to do a presentation. And that's at the heart of a lot of the situation there. With that, CSIU, Dr. Gatachu, anything to share tonight? Yes. Okay, thank you. Finance Committee, please.
Yeah, we met last June 2nd for about an hour. Talked about the transportation contract, insurance quotes, district, tax collection fees for the tax collection services that we provide as the district, food price services, the 2021-22 budget for the homestead and farmstead tax resolutions, building projects, financing, how that would look, and just basically the good news was got our third payment for the earned income tax for the district. It was down over 6% after the second quarter. We are now within 0.29. So we're hoping we can break even, but usually that's a 3 to 4%. So 98 ball.
Thank you for that. And Athletic Committee, Mr. Gordon, anything tonight?
Spring sports evaluations are held as moving forward to fall season, and today organized team activities.
Okay. The expectation of compilation of the okay, excellent. All right, next order of business is our superintendent's report. Oh,
Can I just, I'm going to say it on behalf of the board. Congratulations to our girls softball team. Great season we had.
Stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
That's okay. We know you love your
Sorry.
sports.
Sorry,
That's
I,
all right.
I love my
Hey,
sports.
two's
I
better.
know you
Two's
do.
better than none.
I'm
I
very
know.
proud of those.
This
The girls did a
situation.
great job.
Okay.
Okay, superintendent's
Thank you,
report. Off enrollment. We now have a total of 2,151 students K to 12, and in pre-K we have 82 students. Head Start and pre-K counts. That's a pretty nice piece for our students. We still have students that are in homeschooling, but as we speak, we have sent out letters for homeschool and cyber school parents and have been getting information back and personal phone calls for the parents where we're looking for in-person enrollment, and students are coming back to in. By that, I don't have definite numbers yet, but I am encouraged by it. We have a couple thank yous to provide. We are going to be receiving a CPR in school kit, and this is designed to do training for CPR hands only, which is what is the requirement by the state. I want to thank Wise Markets Incorporated for providing and sponsoring this initiative and making sure that we actually get a kit for no cost. The kit has safe, life-saving training materials that will last a few years. It won't be just 1 year and done, but it'll last a few years. There's a sufficient amount in there. The other one is I want to recognize Bill McAndrew, one of our maintenance workers. He has saved the district almost $4,000 because we had a quote for the lighting of the pedestal lights here that seem to get broken fairly regularly. And he found a different lighting system. It's called a wall pack. And so we don't need to use that. It was a little under $500. So this is a proof where we talk to our employees. We give them a voice so that they can give us their ideas. And it is definitely a benefit to the district. Next. All right, Danville Primary, some of the things that have been happening there is they have a young lady who is in first grade, Allie Steele, submitted her artwork to the America's Freedom Festival Children's Art Contest, and she won the Patriot Award. So you can see her drawing there, which was a very special award for her indeed. And we want to give credit some to the art teachers as well, because they do encourage the kids to try all kinds of media. And then at Liberty Valley, the 24 tournament, which is, we had close to 70 4th and 5th grade students represent Liberty Valley in this virtual 24 tournament this year. They earned stickers or points as a team over the last 4 weeks using the First in Math website. This is a math. 24 is a game. You can look it up on your apps. It's a math game, and it's pretty fun to play, honestly. These students represented Danville very well with a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th place overall out of 13 teams. So we can be very proud of them as well. At the middle school, there's a couple things happening there. We had a young lady, Alyssa Bergenstock. She came in 3rd place for Pennsylvania Media and Design Competition, and that's usually held at Dickinson, but of course this year it was virtual. This is her 2nd time at the state level and first time that she placed. She is hoping to continue with this at the high school level next year as she goes into 9th grade. And then we also have the Kindness Club. The mission of the Kindness Club, which was brought together by Steph Butler, one of the guidance counselors at the middle school, is to bring students together to help create an environment where everyone feels welcome, safe, and included. Members of the club are committed to making our school and community a better place by practicing kindness towards others. The students are extremely motivated and can't wait to start making a difference. There are about 20 members right now in 6th through 8th grade, but there were several more that once it got started, they wanted to participate as well. So we expect this to grow as a movement. It's not like the SPM club at the high school, but it is I would call it the junior league of the SPM club, because what it is they're showing concern for each other and reaching out in kindness to include everyone. So I'm very proud of our guidance counselors and our students who just want to create a culture of inclusiveness. And at the high school, this is the group from the chorus and the jazz band who went out on May 21st at Geisinger and played while the staff were changing shifts, and they showed appreciation to their healthcare workers, and it was pretty remarkable. And you know, I had videos of it, and they did a really, really good job. So I want to thank Tom Haravi and Rebecca Pritchard, because they worked with the students and helped the students put all this together. Next is the summer programs. There's your list of the learning loss activities that we are going to be having in the district. We do have from June 14th through July 8th summer school programming at various levels. In the elementary, it's 9 to 2, Monday through Thursday. In grades 6 to 8, it's 9 to 12:30. At the high school, we're doing credit recovery. Students are able to finish projects and work that they need to get finished in order to get the credit for a course that they were doing poorly in. ESY, of course, is extended school year in a special ed IEP decision. And then we have summer camps that we've started working on 2 different weeks. The times vary, but the information went home. And if anyone's interested and didn't have information, please have them contact, look on the website, because we have a SurveyMonkey survey that you can go to in order to join and say what your student or your child would want. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. Okay, next order of business is our first of 2 public comment periods. As our standard practice, the first one is intended for any public comment for agenda items, and there will be a second one at the end of the meeting for other public comments. So we don't have virtual world anymore, so I'll look to the room for the first round or the public comment period. Anybody like to make a public comment at this time for this first one? Going once, twice, sold. Okay, thank you. Next order of business tonight, we have 2 friends of ours from Columbia Montour Vocational School, Mr. Kreider, Mr. DeLillo. I will turn it over to you for a presentation on the proposed renovation project. So, yeah, if you're welcome to grab the mic. Ken, you can work the room, whatever makes you comfortable.
You just need to.
Testing, 1, 2. Got it, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Board President, Dr. Boyle, the rest of the board, and administration team. I'm Ken Kreider. I'm the new director over at Columbia Montour AVTS, and this is my first year over there, and we've had a very exciting year, and I'm very glad to be able to serve Columbia and Montour County and the vocational education needs that we have there, or at least part of them as well. When we take a look at the building renovation project, back one, please. The contents of what I'll be talking about tonight is a little bit of the project history and Columbia Montour's enrollment history, the proposed facility renovation, the design proposal, and maximum costs. Go ahead. When you take a look at the history, this has been going on for a while, and it's one of these things that I came into, and when I found out how long it was going on, I tried to work with the board to find out, some of the reasons and where we were at. Well, we know Alloy 5 was hired back in 2018 to take a look at the things. They also did some feasibility studies for what were needed for the area. And then they presented a design project, and that design project came in somewhere around $27 million. It was called a hybrid option, but then there was no JOC action taken because one of our sending districts pulled out. And that kind of upset the apple cart a little bit for what was going on. But then the big thing that hit and happened was this thing called COVID. And it kind of slowed all of us down a little bit. In 2020, 2021, I was hired as the director to come on and take a look. And I sat down with Alloy 5 and the superintendents within the district to review information about some of the needs we have in this area. We came up with a new design proposal, and on March 16th, we presented that to our JOC, to our committee, and the JOC really liked that, the committee members liked that, the superintendents liked it, and we went forward on April, and we came up with an approval for a new building project that would take a look at renovation costs of $16.8 million, no longer that $27 million we were looking at. Go ahead. The one thing that I was asked to do by all the superintendents and by our JOC was to take a look at enrollment histories and go back and take a look, because one of the things we know is if you look at a projection out, the enrollment within the area, at least in Columbia County, is looked to have a decrease. And so what I did was I went out and pulled the PIMS data of 9th through 12th grade enrollments within the public system and where we have within this area. So since 2014-15, PA state CTE enrollments have increased by 3.4%. And while 9th through 12th grade enrollments in regular education have dropped 1.1%. 2019-20 statewide enrollment in CTE was around 12% of 9th through 12th grade population, and Columbia Montour AVTS enrollment is at 20%. So when we take a look at that attendance, the other thing I want you to look at is the attendance at CMAVTS is, throughout the past 10 years, it has been about as rock steady as you can get for any attendance. Maximum capacity is 680, and we've been at 93% on an average. So the reason we can't look into the future as far as CTE goes, when they take a look at your enrollment histories, when you look at the state data for that, they're looking at birth rates. They can project your area, the birth rates, and what's going into your kindergarten classes. Carry that number on up through, and you can end up getting some pretty good projections. Remember, career and technology education is an elective. It's an option. People choose to do that. We can't get into the minds of a small child to find out what their choices are. We have to wait till they get into these upper grade levels, and then they select the classes they want. So we have to look at the past history data and go from there, but we do have to make plans and do our due diligence. If enrollment would drop, how would we respond and how would we act and what would we do? Okay, click. So the proposed facility is $6.8 million. Will only address building infrastructure needs and to bring our building up to ADA compliance. $13.1 million of this project will address those issues for handicap. This project would only be the second major building renovation in the 53-year history of the AVTS. The first project was all the way back in 2001. When CMAVTS was built, CTE programs shared theory rooms with a lot of their shop areas. In the meantime, our programs have grown to where we need the additional space, and we find out that theory becomes a very important part to today's career and technology education programs. So over the years, they've utilized mezzanine space for classroom space, they've utilized storage rooms for theory rooms, and we've had programs that have actually built theory rooms in the shop area. So we take a look at the adequate space that's needed for today's labs, and it will require a very small addition of somewhere around 8,000 square feet. And that will bring these programs to allow to have individual theory rooms and then the appropriate sizes for their shops as well. Go ahead. This is a design proposal. It does work in rehearsal, but hopefully it'll work here tonight. That's why I gave you the PDF. Turn to the first page, please. So this is taking a look at where we're at right now with our current building, the existing structure, and where we have. And you can see theory rooms are built in here. We've taken mezzanine space that goes with some of these, and we put theory rooms underneath them as to where some of that has fallen. And you can take a look at some of our other rooms. This is an electrical program. It needs some extra space for the students in that. Go ahead. So what we took a look at was the possibility of moving some of these classrooms around as to where we're at. We have our machine shop, which we're just going to expand a little bit. Now this classroom we put in there, and guys, remember, this is just a projection that's out there. Okay, this is not etched in stone yet. Carpentry program would go here. Building trades would be expanded here. The HVAC program, which was over here, which is going to be moved to give us this space, is going to go over to where our automotive technology program is. The auto body program will stay where it's at. This is where horticulture used to be, and the auto tech would be moved down there to keep all of our heavy equipment programs together. The reason for doing this is our welding program right in here. Our welding program utilizes this area out here which has no roof structure on it. It's just a parking lot. It's an entranceway to where this is a garage bay for the automotive students. And they weld out here on that blacktop, which is not a good surface for them to do their fabrication. They don't have a fabrication area. So that's what we're looking at putting on, a good fabrication area for them. We take a look at the other parts of it down here. This would be our cosmetology program here. And we were looking at moving it out here, but you'll find that the JOC and committee members held us to a limit on cost of the 16.8. And this was a 17.9 design. So we have to cut 1.1 million out of this. So we're looking now at keeping cosmetology right where it's at and possibly moving the agricultural program over here. Our two health professions programs share a lot of the same equipment, so we want to give them a common lab area and maybe turn this into student services and guidance and giving something. It's a lot cheaper to build space like that than it is to move cosmetology that's regulated by the state board. Does anybody have any questions on this before I click back to the original? I like that. Go ahead. You're done with this. Oh, no, one more slide, I'm sorry. One more slide after that. This is your total, so this is where it comes from. If you can see, we eliminated everything out of here. The 17.88 million is now down. It's a 16.9, and you can see where most of your costs are coming in. 1.2, 11.5, roof, general construction, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, all your things that are in there. And then we'll take a look at that small addition and what we can do with that. But that's what we have left in the monies will drive what we're able to do there. Okay, you can go back to the original one now. Click. Okay, so basically, again, just recap, 13.1, site issues, paving, general construction, roofing, mechanical systems, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. Those are the things that really need updated within our structure and need to be taken care of. They've been doing them throughout the years. We have a phenomenal maintenance department that really keeps everything running and keeps our students safe and our faculty. But after 53 years, there are some things that need to be taken care of. And that's what we want to do, address those immediate needs before we move forward and take a look at things. Go ahead. And again, any questions? And thank you guys for your time.
Can you just go over Danville's share of that and how it's calculated so the board is aware?
I think Mr. Lilo would love to go over that. Mr. Lilo is our business manager.
Hello, everybody. So as Ken had pointed out, the total project cost would be $16.8 million. Danville's contribution to that project would be $4,301,093. And the way that that's calculated is based on market values of the properties in your area. Now, Pennsylvania State Equalization Board provides those market values to us. And what we do is we compare the market values of Danville against the market values of the 5 other sending districts, and that's how we determine a percentage of the total cost of a capital project. So the percentage of Danville's portion of the cost would be 25.57% of the entire project cost. So enrollment has nothing to do with how a capital project is. Yes?
So our percentage would be the highest amongst all the
It
schools?
would be the highest, yes. Yes. Danville's is. Mhm. Does that make sense to everybody, how we calculate that? And does anybody have any additional questions related to that?
Is that the same process that all vocational?
That I'm not sure of. That is what's written into our articles of agreement. And I know different schools do it differently. So the way that we determine your proportion of the operating cost is different. That has enrollment factored into the equation. This does not. Okay, so this is a completely separate formula from the operations.
The estimate, what's the accuracy do we feel the estimate is, especially in light of material escalation based on COVID and the related
Sure.
impacts?
Sure. That we've been told by the architect that he feels we can get accomplished what we need to in the building within this $16.8 million. We've been asked that question several times over the last several weeks, and we've been getting the same answer back from him, that that he doesn't think that that's going to be an issue in regards to coming within the 16.8 million. Now, saying that, we're asking for a commitment from each of the districts for these specific amounts. So we will not be able to exceed. Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to come back to you at a later point in time and say, it's going to cost more, and we need more money from you. What we'll have to do at that point, if that should happen, is we'll have to figure out what we can do to keep it within that $16.8 million.
Is there contingency currently built into that number?
There is contingency
How much
built
is
into
the
that.
contingency?
500,000, I believe. That's not up there anymore. Yeah.
Will there be escalation clauses in each individual bid's contract?
That, escalation clauses, not sure how to answer that question. We haven't gotten into those level of details with the architect. Here again, what we're saying is, we're not going to exceed this number. Okay. So, I can get you.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
I just have a couple questions, and admittedly, from sitting with Mrs. Ely for
Yeah.
2 years on the finance committee, they tend to be focused on that. So, do you want them all at the same time, or you just want one at a time? I don't care. I've got at least two, maybe
Oh, no,
three.
go,
see
yeah,
10
yeah.
here,
No,
so-
give me
Okay.
one at a, well, give me one at a time. I don't,
Write 'em
I'll
down?
probably forget
Yeah, there
the
we go.
second one by the time I answer the first one.
Pass an
Um,
envelope around?
That's right. I know Dr. Boyle and Mrs. Ely and the administrators here have done a really good job of controlling the budget
Yes,
the last 2 years. Cutting tons of stuff, being very, very
right.
purposeful with their budget. What has Columbia Montour Votech done to decrease your expenses?
To decrease our operating expenses?
Yes.
Well, through every year, what we do is we evaluate personnel, obviously, as far as what our needs are. Over the last several years, what we had done is replaced some full-time positions with part-time positions in order to eliminate some cost. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of ability because we don't have, other than our shops, we don't have other electives
Right.
that we're able to eliminate. So as long as we have a full slate of students, we basically need to, even if somebody retires,
Need to offer.
typically fill the position. Now, what we do is evaluate things such as class sizes, so on, and we'll continue to do that. But what we've done, as what I've stated, is we've made some full-time positions, part-time positions to reduce some expense.
What is your class size?
What is our class size?
Yeah, you
It's
just brought
the
it up.
total class?
Like students per, well, total enrollment's 600 and change, but what's
Yeah.
your normal class size? Is it one teacher per 20 students or one teacher per 16 or?
We have a variety. Our class sizes vary by our programs. Program size can go up to about 40 students. Some of them have 50 in them. But then our academic classes do vary based on what the level of the class is. We do offer honors level classes over at the CTC, and our students can take them. Those are generally a little smaller than your regular academics, but we try to keep anywhere from 18 to 20 plus within those classes. And then our vocational classes are divided into AM, PM, 9th and 10th graders, and 11th and 12th graders, and each one of those we try to keep around 20 students in each one of them.
Okay, all right. Second question is, we had one school pull out of the consortium. Obviously, my understanding of math, if another school pulls out, our chunk gets bigger, correct? Okay, so what are the other districts talking? Are you getting feedback? Are they happy? Are they questioning? Or where are they on this?
Yes.
We're kind of in the Danville bubble.
Currently, I do not have superintendents approaching me with questions on pulling out of our consortium. They seem to be pretty satisfied with the programming structure that is currently offered at the AVTS. But we are aware, and we do know that our sending school districts are also looking at offering some career and technology education programs using program approval options. So there could be some effects that happen there. And we do have plans in place that if enrollments in some of our programs do drop, then we're going to have to look at how valid those programs are over a period of time is what we'll do with that.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question on the timing. Obviously, we're all in challenges we've never envisioned before, and we're not out of them yet with the pandemic and the fallout and what the future looks like. What would you say within the framework of what you presented to the group is mission critical? What if we don't do this for a year? What if we don't do it for 2? What if you don't have the backing of the school? Give us a perspective of the what if to some extent, please.
When we take a look at the AVTS, if you have not had an opportunity to come over and tour our facilities, I would welcome you to be able to do so. I'd like you to come and see. It'd be great to see while students are there. And you would find out that we're utilizing every inch that we can possibly utilize of this building. Our maintenance department, like I said, does a phenomenal job, but think of things kind of like that old car that you would drive. It still gets you from point A to B. It's safe. It does a good job, but you're going to end up taking it in the shop every now and then and spending a lot on repairs, and you're going to keep repairing the same things over and over again because some of the things have just been left go. They need to be taken care of, and they need to be addressed. We're doing everything we can do to offset these costs by writing grants and getting grant money to pay for them. We've had several of them this year. Somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1.4 million in different grants. We're waiting for some of them to be awarded yet. So about $600,000, $700,000 have already been awarded. And so technology grants for in our classrooms to where we're getting new boards, glass boards, white style glass boards for in our programs, clear touch vision panels for each one of them, Elmo scopes, and some things like that. And that's all done with grant money that we don't have to come back to the districts and say that, hey, our students and faculty deserve to have equipment like this to teach with as well. Currently, we've got programs that have blackboards in them. We have overhead projectors. We have things that are being utilized in some of them. We've got whiteboards that they have constant stains on them because we are diligent with our money. We don't just spend it frivolously. We utilize things so there's absolutely no use left in it whatsoever. I can't raise taxes, even if I wanted to. I rely solely on the income that comes from our sending schools for all of our repairs and all of our budget needs. We have a roof system that's going to be going out soon. We're told we only have 3-4 years left on that, and that's going to need to be replaced. We had control systems for our heating that went out this year in the beginning of winter when we started to heat our school. And my maintenance director called me and he said, hey, we got a problem. I said, yeah. He said, controls just went out. And I called the company and they informed me that these are the oldest set of controls that they have for any building they have in the state. And what they ended up doing was they went to a school out in Pittsburgh that had a similar demographic of ours, and they took the programming out of that to patch our system together. I told them it's unacceptable. We're not going to have a situation where our school could possibly go down and lose heat throughout the winter. I said, order a new set of controls to put in there and take care of it. We'll deal with it. We'll figure out where we're going to get that money. So there are certain things that as they've kicked this can down the road with the timeline, there's been way too many things that have been said, let's wait for the building renovation project, then we'll have that all taken care of. Wait for the building renovation project, and we'll get it taken care of. Well, I think we've kicked the can as far as we can kick it, and there are things that have to be done to the AVTS. We're either going to have to do them in one way or we're going to have to do them one at a time as we continue to move forward because they just have to be taken care of.
I have a question. When we originally looked at the original proposal a couple years ago for
Yes.
the renovations, part of the vision was that there were to be expansion of new types of careers looking forward on some of the careers that we don't currently address from a career perspective.
That's
Does
correct.
paring it down cause us to not have that option?
That is correct. And we will not be able to offer some of those programs like diesel mechanics and Logistics was one that they wanted to offer, and that's sad. But I think it's more critical to take care of what you have and maintain the systems that you have and the programming that you have. Every one of our programs, when you look at the enrollments and you look at the numbers and you look at the validity of those programs, they are all a valid program and relevant to today's economy, to what business and industry is looking for. So to sit back and say, if we're not going to expand, which one would you eliminate? I couldn't do that. I can't say that. Now, I do think some of those other programs are important, but I think the number one thing we need to look at now is taking care of the system that's already in place and all the programming we have.
Does this renovation allow for 5, 10 years down the road for when we are in a better place financially for you to come back to us and say, we now want to add those programs? Are we going to be able to have the space or the infrastructure to be able to do that?
Yes, the district, we're not making any changes that would change that. And if you've ever been over to the AVTS, there's plenty of land there to do anything you would want to do with that land. But again, I think we have to look at the demographic studies before we do any program additions and make sure that that is the right option to go with.
Anybody else?
Can you just give us the timeline of when you want the vote, what you're looking at for payment and of those items?
Yeah, so the architect had set up a timeline of what would be ideal. Ideally, we would like a vote this month. I don't know if that'll be able to happen. I did send motions to you yesterday that our solicitor had prepared. And in that, there were actually 3 separate motions that we would like to have made. And the first one would be, of course, to commit the total funds, the $4 million. The second motion would be to have 10% of that amount paid to us by August 1st of this year, because at that point, there will be some of the soft costs that will start to come into play that we'll need the funds for. The remainder would be due 30 days after awarding the bids. I'm seeing a look over there. So go ahead and you can ask your question now, and let's see if I have a good answer for you.
Oh, that's okay.
So this is the reason we're asking that. And I'll tell you now, I'm doing a little more investigation to see if there's a way that we can work on some sort of a draw schedule.
Well, yeah, that's what I
Okay.
was-
I actually just spoke to the architect today. Both our solicitor and our architect had told me previously that that's typically the way they've done it with other vocational schools when they've had a project. So that's why they had put that into the schedule. I'm not so sure that's how we have to do it. So I'm going to check. I'm going to check with a couple of other people to see if maybe there's a way that we can spread the remaining 90% out a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I would
Yes,
strongly recommend
yes,
a draw schedule.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. Okay.
Thank you. I did get that and I did read it, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
after Finance Committee and
Yes. As a matter of fact, I just spoke to our architect probably about an hour before this meeting, and we had a discussion about that, and he reiterated this is typically the way that they've done it in other vocational schools where they have sending districts. He believed that it had to be done that way, but I'm going to, like I said, continue to see if there's another way that we can spread that cost out for you. Okay.
$4 million, I think we may have a little bit of.
And can you talk about how we borrowed the money last time for the construction project versus
Yes,
this
back in
time?
2000,
Yes.
a bond. We issued a bond, and everybody borrowed together the last time. So back in 2000, the CMAVTS has an authority, and the money was borrowed by issuing a bond through the authority, and all of the districts passed a resolution that they would borrow the funds together, or they would issue the bond together as a group. This time around, when we had previous meetings, several of the superintendents had stated that they wanted to finance independently, that they did not want to do a group financing. A group financing among those who may want to it would still possibly be available. That's something we could work together on. If now there are some districts that have said they absolutely don't want to do that. Is there a possibility that 2 or 3 of you may want to do it together? Potentially. I can't speak for the others, of course, other than the ones who have said they absolutely want to do it by themselves. So I know it wouldn't be 100%,
Is there
but
any advantage to that?
Is it like if we have a certain rating and somebody's lower,
they can
so get the
piggyback off our
benefit,
good
or
rating,
how do- or
right?
we benefit off that?
Well, it doesn't count on our borrowing capacity as much as our own borrowing does. That's what I've been told from PFM. So it kind of would benefit us. That's how it was last time.
Well, since we're the majority, we should probably have a stake in that. I would say.
if there's any interest in that, I can contact bond counsel, our bond counsel, and I can get with Bobby, and we can have some discussions regarding that if you have interest in that.
Yeah, this was the first I heard of that. So when did the superintendents discuss?
Oh, it was probably before you were here,
Well, and
Dr.
I've been
Boyle.
here 2 years, so
Yeah,
maybe
so-
it should be something that superintendents get to discuss again, because there's several new superintendents
Yeah,
sitting
it
on.
was.
Yeah,
in the
Mr.
sending
Groshek from
districts.
Central and Mr. From Benton.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not in anymore. Duh.
No.
Sorry.
No, but Millville's new,
Yeah.
me, Berwick,
Mr.
and-
Groshek,
and
Central.
Central.
It would have been spring of 2000, or winter or spring of probably 2019, it must have been.
That's when I
Right.
came in, is March of 2019.
Yeah, so maybe it was just before that.
Yeah, and most of the others came in somewhere similar, so
Yeah.
that might be something to approach again.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
do
certainly.
know that some schools obviously were aware of this project and started setting aside. And we also do have some money set aside in our capital reserve. So we would not need the full borrowing of the $4.3 million, but it's something to consider going forward to see what the options are and to talk to our financial
Sure.
advisor and bond counsel as well.
Okay. Any additional
Yeah, well,
questions?
just one more from
Sure.
my view. I don't know that I appreciated the answer. The other 4 sending districts, what's their disposition now? What's the current status? Are they all, like, because you had mentioned
No-
that your
no,
timeline was June, so what,
Right.
can you just go through all the ones?
Nobody has voted yet. That I can tell you. I don't know how all of them have been contacted regarding the board motions, and we have met with, how many of the districts? Probably 3 spoken to. So everybody's kind of at the same point at this time. Yeah, they've all been, it's been communicated to them what the timeline is like, but, yeah, like I said, nobody has voted as far as we know, anyway.
Any other questions?
I just said, do we have to vote
No.
for our June meeting? We
Yeah, we're
can't.
not-
We
No.
just got
Yeah.
it
We're not-
presented.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the
to vote.
agenda.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, and
I mean, it's not
if,
something we're adding because we just had this presented to us.
right.
I have to get
If
it in
anything,
July.
in July or a special meeting at the end of June,
Yeah.
we have time to review
Okay.
the appropriate documentation.
Any other questions? Anybody? Okay. Well, thank you for
Okay.
coming. Thank you for
Thank
taking
you, we
time and
appreciate it.
answering the questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. Next order of business tonight is item 5.2, our insurance presentations. Did you want to grab that, Bobby, or?
Yes, I'll grab
Please.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 2 insurance companies with us tonight. Lanny Diltz from Yoder Insurance is here. He's our longstanding insurance agent, and he'll be presenting the district's package and his proposal. And then we have the Seltzer Group. Mr. Fryer is here, and he'll be presenting a package and a quote from the Seltzer Group. So Lanny, I'll let you pick. Do you want to go first or second? Okay, sounds good, sounds good. And so everyone's aware, the board members did receive every single document that was sent to me in their board agenda, so you would have had that attached on Friday. And then the Finance Committee reviewed everything and thought this would be best to hear the presentations because there is a lot in the packages to review. So we want to go over and make sure the insurance is suitable for the district. So the Seltzer Group. Thank you.
That's fine.
All the CDC's public.
Oops, I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Use the mic, please. We do have it being broadcast on YouTube.
Here we go. I think I got it. Thank you. So thank you, Bobby, and obviously the board of directors. So I'm Eric Fryer. I'm a risk executive with the Seltzer Group. You're working with John Kempemizzi in the past. I have Pete over there, Pete Cromas. He's our senior vice president. He will put his role into this as well. So thank you for having us. Thank you for the opportunity to present the package as well as, and thank you for the continued business we had in the past. So if you want to turn the page, just a quick agenda. You guys, I believe, received the full proposal from John earlier. So today is just more, a little bit more about us, why we do what we do, a timeline of how our relationship started and how we continue to progress that, a little bit of market, our risk overview of what we provide for the district, some recommendations, and then about the companies that we chose to use. So who we are. So this is why we do what we do. We believe, so we're driven on value and process. We believe most of insurance programs are flawed and dangerous. Typically, you get a policy, you copy it, match the numbers, apples to apples or not, and that's typically the process where the incumbent wins. So what we try to do is take away from that process and develop our own. So our goal is really to partner with the districts to bring the best programs for them. Obviously, cost savings is a big part of it. So like, for example, later on we'll talk about our workers' comp carrier. Their program offers what's called a dividend program that could bring additional savings to the district. A little bit more on why. So there's four ways to handle risk. So you can, I think if you keep clicking, I think there's 4 there. So the first one is avoid. It's as simple as it sounds. You can stay away from it. You can reduce it. That's what we try to help with our risk management services. Is training, safety trainings, safety committee trainings, claim reviews. So we're trying to help the districts reduce cost by reducing the risk that, again, will reduce your cost. A transfer, that, again, is simply contracts with other vendors, making sure the contracts are written in the favor of the school district. And the last one is accepting the risk. That's your deductibles, retentions. You guys, the school district would take on some of their own. So, Pete, if you want to step up here and talk about, so we're part of Keystone. So Keystone Insurance Group is a community of independent agents. And Pete's been in a little bit longer than me, so he can share some insight on that.
Thank you, Eric. So we've actually been a part of the Keystone Insurers Group, who's actually headquartered right here in Northumberland. if you go down Route 11, go the other way. They bought an old mansion and turned it into their headquarters. But we have been a part of that network since 1997. There are 270 plus partner agencies. Actually, now we're in 17 states, and we're the 4th largest independent agency network in the country, based upon premium volume. So we're, like I said, we're right here in your backyard, and we're familiar with the area, but that's a little bit about Keystone and who we are.
Thank you. So part of Keystone, one of our focuses is school districts. So currently we work with 17 other school districts in Schuylkill and Berks County, mainly. So again, that's just about us. We are local here. Again, we do have our own safety experts. We have our own HR and claims specialists, all part of this connection. So this is actually an overview. I know it's tough to see, so hopefully it's a little easier in your packet. So this is a complete overview of everything we offer at the agency. We call this our circle of services. So, I mean, it starts with injury prevention, geared towards workers' comp, but injury prevention. Then what you guys currently are enrolled in are our claims management program. We're handling claims from submission to closure. So anything in between. We have an adjuster on our team that is your advocate from the insurance carrier to yourselves. Like I said, it goes into DOT training, compliance, risk financing, and human resources. We do have, I think it's 4 licensed attorneys on staff, HR professional attorneys, that are available through a hotline. Any call, any question you could have regarding hiring, firing, promotion, discrimination, that's a part of our package. Again, if there's something more in depth that would go into, say, a handbook review, something like that, that could drive some additional costs. But the hotline, any one-off questions are included in the proposal, in the proposal we sent to you. So if I'm going too fast, just let me know. So the next 2 slides are kind of a timeline of how our relationship developed, how it started, and some key dates along the way to kind of show you how we pride ourselves on being different. So let's see, going back in 2019, we started our first workers' comp analysis. We looked at loss runs, your payroll, claims, and came up with an analysis that demonstrated what your experience mod was, and how each claim affects that mod. With our process, we're able to line up a workers' comp carrier first year in 2019 that I believe brought a $30,000 savings immediately. So this slide just highlights key dates in our relationship. Really, it's about communication. You guys need to know, for budgetary reasons, where your workers' comp mod is going. So, for example, like the evaluation date, our stewardship report, it's 6 months after the beginning of your policy. We'll take a look at your losses, your claims, expected losses, and be able to predict what we expect your experience mod to be. So that's huge when it comes to budgetary reasons. If your experience mod is going to increase, you're aware of where potentially it's going. We also do the quarterly workers' comp claim reviews. I believe you've been meeting with Dan Hayden from our office. Our renewal meetings, and just give you market updates. So again, your experience mod did increase in 2020. However, we were able to keep the rate the same due to our process and some of your hard work. But the next one, I think I skipped through both of those slides. So if you want to go to the market analysis one more page. So there is some good news. I like to bring the good news to the meeting. Your experience mod for 2021 has gone down. So you're down to a 1.182. Not sure if everybody wants to know what experience mod is, but the goal is to be 1.0 below. So you are trending in the right direction. So with our recommendations, we were able to deliver some more savings with a new workers' comp carrier, and with packaging that with a package discount brings some more savings there. So right there, we're able to get package quotes from Wright Specialty and Utica National, and then workers' comp, Eastern Alliance, Harrier is your current carrier, and AmTrust is what our recommendation is. So moving forward. So this is just a little bit more about what we offer and what each carrier has. So top left, top left, AmTrust is the workers' comp carrier, A+ rated by AM Best. It just means they're a very strong carrier, very financially sound. They do offer what's called a scaled dividend program, which I'll talk about on the next slide. That just gives you the opportunity to earn even more additional savings. The bottom is Utica National. Again, A+, AM Best. They have a complete program. Their program is actually designed off of the CM Regent, I believe your current carrier, program. So the last one is what we currently bring our additional services. What we really want to pride ourselves on is risk management. So that's the claims management injury program that we talked about earlier. So that's where we're doing analysis on your claims. If you have common trends, slip, trips, and falls, or obviously in the school district, there's going to be trends of some student and teacher interactions, I'm sure, that are unavoidable. But if you have common slip, trips, and falls or strains in the same area, we do analysis on that and look at ways to prevent that moving forward. Same thing with the doctor panel. Sometimes doctors pass away or move on. We are doing analysis to make sure the panel is what you guys are comfortable with. Again, experience mod prediction, which we talked about regarding the budgetary reasons. Safety committee trainings. Again, you get the 5% discount on the workers' comp, but that's where we're here to assist you in keeping the committee going, making sure you get recertified each year. And then the claims advocacy is the huge part. When the claim's filed, we're there from start to finish, making sure the adjuster is working for the best for the school district. So AmTrust, as you can see there, top left, is the quoted with the package is $112,799. The expiring premium was $132. So we're offering another $20,000 savings from expiring. Now, some of that was your hard work with the experience mod coming down, but there's an immediate savings there. So here's the scaled dividend, which is really nice that it's not all or nothing. So the scaled dividend is based on your payroll and then your losses, or your premium, sorry. So your premium 112. So at 0 to 15%, so you have $10,000 in losses this year, you will receive an extra 25% back in your dividend. That's calculated each year. So if you would have less than 50% losses, you would receive another additional $28,000 returned to the district. So what's nice about this in a grading scale is you don't have to be perfect. Sliding all the way down to 45%, so roughly 50,000 in claims, you still would receive 3% of your premium back on a dividend. Like I said, that's calculated each year. So the package carrier is Utica National, annual premium of $98,132. So they have 45 years of school experience. I think and in that cost, appraisals are included, which are very important, plus crisis response. And you'll see in your handouts a little bit more about the crisis response. Unfortunately, when you turn on the TV, you see active shooters, bomb threats. That's cost built into there for first aid, emergency medical. That's built in. I think it's a $500,000 limit is thrown in the Utica policy. But the second line there is what is most important. 97% claim satisfaction by policyholders. So when their claim arises, which we know claims will arise, Utica is top notch, and 97% agree. So like I said earlier, all the major coverages, your property, your equipment, liabilities, school leaders, employment practices, cyber, it's all built into the Utica program. The program is, like I said, based on the CM Regent program. So that's really all I have. If you're obviously open to questions or clarification.
Oops, hello. The two slides you had numbers on, what's the difference between them? You had the AmTrust and the Utica, two different numbers there. Which is what help me understand those numbers.
So AmTrust is your workers' compensation carrier. Currently you have Harry through our agency, but going with AmTrust was a good savings there, plus the opportunity for the dividend program. And Utica is the package. That's your property liability, commercial auto, school leaders liability, employment practices, cyber liability is all included in Utica.
Okay, thank you.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the total cost would be $210,931, adding
Yeah.
them together.
112, 799 plus the 98,
Yeah,
correct,
okay.
yes.
So when you said the potential annual dividend savings, that's 28,000 off of the 112?
Yes, if
Okay.
your
If you
loss
earn
ratio
that.
was 0 to 15, you would receive 28.
That's the highest potential we
Correct.
could
Correct. And that's what
potentially earn
most
back.
of these dividend programs, it's either all or nothing. So where they give you scaled. So if you don't have such a successful year,
Right.
you still could earn.
So we still can earn some savings even if we don't have a
3% up to
successful year.
45.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Anybody else? No?
How was the dividend paid out? Just like a reduction of premium?
It would actually be a
during the-
dividend check you would receive each year.
Okay, thank you.
So this is, we would get both of these, or we could just say we only want the workers' comp, we don't want the other, or you just take it all as a package?
No, we currently just have the workers' comp. So AmTrust offered a discount
so
for
you can
taking
do it
both.
either way.
Correct, correct. Currently,
Okay.
right now, we control your workers' comp only.
Okay, I
So
thought
yes.
you did, yeah, I
Yep.
wasn't sure.
So I just want to clarify, if we choose the Seltzer Group just for workers' comp, it will be $119,998.
Right,
If we choose them with the package,
That's the
it's $112,799. Just want to clarify.
So in essence, we save 7,000 by
by
packaging.
doing the package.
Right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Diltz, you're up. And remember, some of the board members are new, so they're not aware of our current package, so.
You're our PA guy, Lenny. Come on.
I think you just
My name is Lanny Diltz. I'm the current insurance broker. I live here in Danville. My office is located on Mill Street in Danville, and I've been a broker agent for over 35 years for the school district. And workman's compensation is not part of this presentation. That is controlled by the Seltzer Group and has been for several years. I'm assuming you're familiar with what we now have in place. With the proposals that were handed out, it gave all of the information that we have, and I want to lift up some of the highlights of that particular program. This is a PSBA endorsed program, and the CM Region program insures 72% of the schools in Pennsylvania with the packages. They only do 30% of the work comp, and there's over 90% of the employee benefits distributed throughout the CM Region program and PA. Their only business is schools, their underwriting, loss control, and claims. They are all dedicated to schools, nothing else. Claims is very important. They're all professionals, and they really look at each claim individually, and they have the people that work on them that are professionals in that particular area. Just to go back a few years during the flood of 2011, when our middle school got wiped out, We had the maximum flood insurance you could get on it. There was $1 million coverage in this program. And the claims people, through some creative claims service, found another $800,000 or $900,000 within the package that picked up. So now, I will say those loopholes have been closed since then. But they were looking out for the client. They're looking for ways to pay a claim, not for ways not to pay the claim. This program provides annual property appraisals at no charge to the district. And that includes the contents and the buildings themselves. Every 3 years, they are inspected. And the contents is done on a modeling basis where they will pick like schools, and that's how your contents. They average it out, and they'll say your contents, and they're very close with your actual appraisals when it comes into contents coverage. Your boiler and elevator inspections, no charge to the district. All you have to do is call and schedule them, and you have to use the vendors that are contracted under the program that CM Region has. They're the only insurer to offer the violent incident protection in the package, no charge for the first $250,000 with additional limits available at a cost. And that violent incident protection, the one thing that is important about that is there doesn't have to be any injury or people involved as far as injuries. It just has to be the thought that it's there. If there's a threat or somebody would actually get in the building with a gun or whatever, that kicks in automatically. There does not have to be injury, and that's a very important trigger for that coverage. Within our program, there is communicable disease coverage, and it's not excluded from the policy. Most policies exclude that communicable disease coverage, and it's important, let's say that a parent comes in and says, hey, my child got COVID-19 here at school, and they bring a lawsuit. We will defend that lawsuit, where that will not happen under any other programs that we're aware of. Liability limit is per location, not per policy. So if you have 4 different locations, the liability limit that's on the policy is for that location. And our umbrella policy, which presently we have a $5 million umbrella policy, the uniqueness of that is that it's a towered basis where you have, we're going to say $1 million auto liability, you have a $5 million umbrella over that. Then you also have it over the general liability, you have it over the school district legal, and that's how that's towered. It's not a $5 million aggregate for all of the coverages. It's $5 million per tower. We have crisis counseling that's free of charge. If you need to have crisis counseling within the school, this many times can cost up to $1,000 an hour, and that's provided. You just make the calls, and everything is set up then with the CM Region companies. There's a first call hotline under the school district legal, if that's part of the program, that you can make that call if you're not sure how to handle a situation, say in a dismissal of a professional, a paraprofessional, or your other workers. You can call them and pick it up, and within 48 hours, you'll get a response from a team that handles that, and they will give you their advice on what to do. And that's at no charge. As I had mentioned earlier, there's also flood insurance that's included in this program. It's $3 million of flood coverage. The maximum you can buy down at the middle school is the $500,000, and then once that is satisfied, then it kicks into the $3 million coverage that's on the package program. And like I say, that becomes very important because of the limitations that are within the National Flood Program. Your policy deductible that you presently have is $2,500. Then there are special limits in the program for AV equipment, musical instruments, band uniforms, and that's $500 as opposed to the $2,500 on your normal property. Your auto deductibles are $500 comp and collision. And for personal property of students and teachers at the insured locations, that's a $250 deductible. And that is pretty much the highlights of what you have and what's been in place for quite a few years here in the district. And I would like to say that the school district legal and the cyber policies are really not part of the package, but they can be lifted out as separate coverages. And the last one that was the interscholastic sports. That's a $100 excess program, and that's, you purchase that for, it covers grades 7 through 12, all of your interscholastic sports, covers band, cheerleaders, managers, and if they are injured. And it's an accident policy, keeping in mind. And it practices to and from those practices, directly to and from those. Pretty much that's the highlights of the programs. You have the numbers, and if there are any questions.
Bobby, can you remind us of what the number is for the?
Yeah. So with the educator legal liability and the cyber liability, the package without workers' comp, because that's not part of Yoder insurance, is $125,223. Now, I did take into consideration upping the deductible to $5,000 if we went with Yoder instead of the $2,500. So I took that little credit of $2,000, just so you know.
Can we ask the Seltzer Group a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Lenny listed several things, and I'm just curious because I didn't see them in your list. But things like property inspections, boiler inspections, violent incident threat, communicable disease, crisis counseling, flood insurance, are those all? Okay. There was flood insurance?
So yes, we do have.
And you said your factor for the 125,000 was on a $5,000 deductible.
Mm-hmm.
What,
I think if we went up to 5,
so what was your deductible on? 20. And the school district legal, you had said that you had that. Is that the school leaders?
that's school leaders, yep.
And the interscholastic sport? Okay, so yours doesn't have that. Okay. And you said yes to boiler inspections.
So on the board agenda, there are going to be 3 motions that I'm asking for approval. 2 of them have blanks, because obviously we want to decide who gets the package, and then depending on who gets the package will determine who gets the workers' comp, which dollar amount we need to fill in there. And the other one, obviously interscholastic, there's no competing proposal for that. So I put that as a separate line item. And since the Seltzer Group bundled their educator liability and cyber liability, we're bundling those packages together just for the sake of comparing the 2.
Lenny, can I ask you a quick question? You mentioned the PSBA endorsement. I don't know the nature of that endorsement. So can you talk about that, and maybe the other group can talk about that? Separated. So do they endorse more than one company, or is your company?
So Utica would not be? Is that, like, their PSBA is only endorses one, or is it that? No, I was asking.
I mean, usually when you endorse a company, it is just one.
one,
So
okay,
there's no
right.
competing companies with that.
Can I ask a question to clarify about the flood? So if we buy the insurance through NFIP up to a 500,000 maximum benefit, and yours is a supplemental up to 3 million? Okay. Mm-hmm, okay. Okay. And then the Seltzer Group, same question. So what's your maximum benefit for your supplemental flood? Thank you.
Has the safety committee dug into some of the policies? Or any comment from safety?
Safety committee looked at the workers' comp and the claim and the injuries. We look at that on a monthly basis, but not the package in total. Finance committee has had the documents, and we reviewed briefly, compared them and the actual contents of it. And then, of course, we looked at the finance of it as well at finance committee. But finance committee met on June
Second.
2nd. And so the documents have been out there since then to review. And then in the board packet, it was in there since Friday when it was published.
So even if we were to package with the Seltzer Group, we still have to purchase the Interscholastic?
We would do Interscholastic from Yoder Insurance. If we went all Seltzer Group, if Seltzer Group, we just went workers' comp, then it would be Yoder Insurance for the package and Scholastic, and just an increase to the increase to the workers' comp that was quoted, and then the difference in the price of the package.
And how much is the Interscholastic?
The Interscholastic Sports, it's on your agenda, is $10,009. So if you're comparing all packages, workers' comp, Interscholastic Sports, Yoder Insurance, we would have to purchase the workers' comp from the Seltzer Group at the higher amount is $255,230. And then the Seltzer Group, the workers' comp at the lower package, and adding the Interscholastic Sports comes to $220,940. So there is a difference of $34,000.
So then besides, and I'm glad you did that because I was writing diligent notes, keeping track with the numbers, but you summarized it well. So we have a $35,000 bottom line difference. So then to me, what's the other part of the discussion should include any other value-added proposition. I know there's different pieces because the two folks got together separately and presented in different formats. So if you take just the pure dollar amount off the table, what's the other value-added portion of this then? Like, what are the things for us to consider? If you look at the straight math tells us what you just described very well, $35,000 or so difference. What about the other value-added proposition side of this?
I've worked with both companies doing workers' comp and then with Yoder for the insurance since I've started here. Both have good response times. I email either of them and they get back to me immediately. So in that aspect, it's been a good working relationship. So there's no problems with that end of it, like a customer service end of any of the
Claims management, all that fun
things,
stuff. Okay.
What is the benefit, Lenny, of you had said liability by location, not policy?
That means that you aren't using up all of your aggregate liability. If you have a large loss at a location, there's an annual aggregate,
Okay.
where then you wouldn't have any for the rest of the policy term.
Okay.
Where this is a per location coverage, so you have it at your other separate locations.
Are you by location or by policy? And did you say Utica had the violent incident threat? Is it? Okay, and is that the same, you had said up to $250,000 coverage?
Bobby, we looked at this last Tuesday. Do you feel this is a fair apples to apples comparison?
Yeah, I looked at both detailed list of the insurance and compared them. There are positives in the Seltzer's proposal, and then there's negatives compared to what we currently have. And I think that's with any insurance. But I have no real concerns with moving, but it's
Well, there's two things that I heard that are different. One is that the deductible is going to be higher moving forward if we stay with our current insurance.
well, we can keep it at 2,500.
But then it's going to cost us more,
Correct.
correct? So it's not going to be that.
But the other group also gave us a number to, I think it was $1,200. That would be an additional deduct off their number to move to
Right.
5,000.
And that we had violent incident, there's a higher coverage with the Utica group versus our current. Those are the ones that I'm just, in my attempts to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, I went in detail and asked some follow-up questions just to make sure that we were comparing those two because they do call it two different things on two different policies. And I just wanted to clarify, and it seems like they're matching it based on the detail.
So going with the Seltzer group is going to save us, could potentially save us $32,000.
34.
34,000.
Bobby, do you have any concern or the communicable disease? And the fact that the state's not necessarily.
yeah, as Mr. Diltz said, that it's built in there. They were not seeing it in your proposal, the Seltzer Group? Not currently.
Do you know if that's an additional cost, what that might be? I would be concerned with that no matter what, just because of the liability component with COVID. Doesn't exceed the 32, then it's, you know what I mean, a moot point, but that would
Right.
be a question I would.
Or the other way you could look at it is you would take it off the other one. We have to decide if that's value added to our policy. So there doesn't mean we want it or need it.
Won't take long to
Be
recoup
to litigate.
32,000 in lawyer fees for COVID case.
And just to that end, again, we're always looking at what the future may hold for potential COVID litigation cases, because again, that's a whole new realm that everyone will need to face at some point if it does get that far. Some of the potential claims we've thought that may be raised are state-created danger claims, and we've debated whether those will actually succeed. But the realistic point is that once you have a claim initiated, that's going to trigger deductibles regardless of whether the claim actually succeeds or not. So the defense costs and the considerations relative to COVID litigation coverage, particularly depending on with school districts, the number of students, staffs, parents that may raise the claims and how far down the line that rabbit hole may go, that those are some of the things that we're always looking at, and why we've advised a lot of our districts to make sure they're really complying with mandated orders and laws and rules, because that's really to protect the insurance coverage that's already in place with CM Region relative to communicable diseases.
I know with
Question.
working with Yoder Insurance, we are allowed to use our own attorneys and a solicitor for some of the items. Is that true for the Seltzer Group? Okay.
And to that end, our office is on both insurance panels. So we've worked with Utica, we've worked with CM Region, so that wouldn't be an issue with our office continuing to represent on, those types of claims.
So back to the COVID liability question. I'm looking here at the form in our meeting, the financial comparison. Is that just naturally included in your? Okay, so it's not a. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. Fair enough, I was confused.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you both for your time. I know
Yes,
this
thank you very
takes a
much.
lot of
Thank
time
you.
putting the packages together.
All right, moving on through the agenda, we have our consent agenda items. For the record, I will read those, but before I do so, does anybody like to make a motion to separate them out before, for the record, I asked to include them in one motion? Anything on consent? Okay, no? All right, so the board will take action to approve the consent agenda items. Those items are 9.1, 12.1 through 12.8, 13.1 through 13.10. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Thank you, and thank you.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu. Yes. Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. The motion carries. Thank you. School property and supplies. The board will take action to approve the payment of invoice number 24 in the amount of $9,068.80 for professional services from April 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2021 for the high school auditorium project as presented.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to let you know that this is the air quality testing and the finalized testing. We will receive one other small invoice for $2,000 to finish up that quality assurance.
Okay, that's budgeted.
Yes, it's
Okay.
budgeted.
Yep, thank you. Okay, Appreciate
Make
that.
a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Well, thank you. Okay.
Dr. Gatachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard, Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 8, athletics activities, coaches contract. The board will take action to approve the coaching contracts for the following coaches as presented. Cross country, Jeff Brandt, 3-year. Field hockey, Sarah Biddle, 1 year. Football, Mike Brennan, 3-year. Golf, Ron Kanaski, 1 year. Soccer boys, Brian Dressler, 1 year. Soccer girls, Dave Tumolo, 3-year. Tennis girls, Nicole Maxfield, 1 year. For winter sports, basketball boys, Gary Grozier, 3-year. Basketball girls, Wayne Renz, 1 year. Bowling, boys and girls, Andrew Arnold, 3-year. Swimming and diving, boys and girls, Danielle Sticklin, 3-year. Wrestling, Seth Kanaski, 3-year. Are there any motions or any discussions we'd like to have on that one?
I would ask that we can discuss.
Certainly. Okay, floor's open.
I'll go. So coaching contracts are new, something new here for us. And in reviewing the contracts that are listed, I have a genuine concern that we have female sports coaches. 1 of 3 is receiving a 3-year contract. And that coach that I would like to actually pull out of this for discussion specifically and put on hold would be the field hockey contract. My concern would be that we have a coach who's been coaching for us as a district for about 6 years. I believe Mr. John shared with us that our fall coaching evaluations were very good in a previous board. I know that we've had young ladies go on to play collegiate field hockey. I know that that coach has dedicated time to out-of-season work with these girls through Bison Field Hockey. My daughter specifically has been on this team, and I've never had a concern with this coach, nor have I had any concerns with the program. I would love to win more games, but I do think that at this point, there's a whole lot of mentoring that happens outside of the regular season. We have a coach that doesn't just show up for a paycheck on day 1 of the athletic season and stops at the end. As a matter of fact, I believe this coach is also our junior high program coach who mentors the girls not only in middle school but also in high school. I would also like to mention that this particular coach was one of the few coaches who advertised the speed and agility training to their girls, and they had girls participating. And I know that firsthand because my daughter was a part of that prior. So she has done things to encourage those children to work in off-season. I know that they have field hockey pickup times in the summer, and they play games. My daughter was also in tournaments outside of this with that coach, invited to do that. And so my concern is that we have a female seasoned coach who does great things for mentoring young women, builds team morale, and has a positive atmosphere on that team. I have never been a proponent of wins and losses determining whether or not we were going to retain a coach and say that we had a successful program. I do believe our field hockey program has room for growth when it comes to wins and losses, but I firmly stand on the fact that I believe that this coach deserves more than a 1-year contract. I would request that we remove Sarah Biddle for field hockey for further consideration before voting on that contract.
Are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion. I can if we could discuss it, but I
Could,
will be
yeah,
making a motion.
I just like for clarity, something you said that I just want to, what's the relevance of female?
So we have 6 of 9 coaches. 2/3 of those coaches that are male are receiving 3-year contracts. We have 1 of 3 female coaches that are receiving a 3-year contract. And that one, when we look at one of three, one of those that is not is a seasoned coach who does great things for student morale, camaraderie, and builds up children. And I just see that there could be a discrepancy there. I'm not sure where a one-year contract would be coming for a seasoned coach. And when it comes to female sports, there's a lot more than winning and losing in my book. It's building girls' self-esteem, building confidence, and making sure that they can work together and be successful not only on the field but in life.
Okay. Any other comments? No? Nothing? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw Sarah Biddle from further consideration of that contract.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do a roll call, right?
So for clarification, we're voting on all of these except for the field hockey one.
No,
Current-
we're voting to take her out.
We're voting for the motion.
Mo- The motion on the table is to remove the field hockey coach, Sarah Biddle, from the 1 year contained in this item tonight for further consideration. So basically taking her off
Okay.
this
Mhm.
list.
Okay.
Great.
And Dr. Gursky made the motion, Mr. Kears seconded it. Okay. Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Gordon?
No.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
No. I'm sorry, motion carries, excuse me. So now we have a motion on the table for the coaches list without Sarah Biddle.
I'll make
Frame
that motion.
well enough, that wasn't well said, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
No.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. We are on to that part. Okay. Thought that- Yeah, I thought that might have been a consent. Okay. So item 8.2, fall cheerleading advisors. The board will take action to approve the following cheerleading advisors for the fall 2021 season. The stipend, if applicable, will be paid at the end of the season consistent with the 2021 to 2022 budget. And those two individuals are Amanda Loper and Miranda Vining, who's a volunteer. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8.3, volunteer assistant coach. The board will take action to approve Brett Michaels as a volunteer girls soccer coach.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
No.
Mr. Gordon?
No.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item, let's see, consent
Oh, that's good.
7.1. Thank you, everybody.
No, not
11-3.
You guys gave me bad direction a moment ago. 11-1. See, I'm paying attention. Easy now. You almost had me, to be fair to that. Yeah. I was going to phone a lifeline next. The board will take action to approve the bills for payment for May 6, 2021 through June 2nd, 2021 as presented.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Reichard. Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu.
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Abstain.
Mr. Kirish.
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. 11.4. Mrs. Edmeades? Yeah, 11.4.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. The board will take action to approve the finalized budget for the 2021 through 2022 school year as presented.
Can I comment real quick?
Sure, you can.
From what changed from the proposed budget to the final budget? In total, the budget did not change. It remained the same. We, in the final budget, still having a 3.5% tax increase. That's still in the budget. What did change is we received our homestead, farmstead allocation amount from the state. And that moved from, I was off on my budget for homestead, farmstead by 1,267 on my proposed budget. So it moved it from the state line to the local line. So that is the only thing that changed from the proposed budget to the final budget. That's all.
So you are human, just for the record.
I still make a motion to approve.
Thank you for that.
I
though.
second.
That's important. All right, thank you.
Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu.
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Yes.
Mr. Kirish.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard. Mr. Huron.
Yes. Excuse me. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 11.5, Homestead Farmstead Exclusion Resolution. The board will take action to approve the 2021 Homestead Farmstead Exclusion Resolution as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Got that, Terry?
Yep.
Okay.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Dr. Gatachu.
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Yes.
Mr. Kirish.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11.6, General Fund Tax Resolution. The board will take action to approve the 2021 through 2022 General Tax Fund Resolution as presented. Do I have a motion for that item?
I'll second.
Thank you, and thank you.
Dr. Gatachu.
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Yes.
Mr. Kirish.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, item 11.7, the meal prices and a la carte prices. The board will take action to approve the meal prices and a la carte prices for the 2021 through 2022 school year as presented.
Mr. Huron, may I comment?
Absolutely.
Thank you. The prices on your agenda, I just want to talk. You just want to hear me. The prices on the agenda has not changed from the current school year. The a la carte prices are the same and the meal prices are the same. As everyone knows, it's free breakfast and lunch for this year, and that is going to be extended. We've applied for it to be extended all through next school year as well. So we will get free breakfast and lunch, but this is a formality to put on there that the prices weren't going to change from one school year to another school year.
Okay,
I'll
Great.
second.
thank you.
Mrs. Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Dr. Gursky.
Yes.
Mr. Kirish.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard. Mrs. Edmeades.
Yes.
Mrs. Fish.
Yes.
Dr. Katachu.
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, thank Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, item 11.8, the district insurance. We have the two options as presented a few moments ago. So we need to, someone needs to make a motion to move to the next step. Board will take action, approve the district insurance through. And I need someone to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to move to the Seltzer Group.
I second.
What's that cost, Bobby?
I like the
That-
hometown stuff.
Is that the 98,132?
Correct, 98,132.
Is this for workmen? No, this is for.
This is for the total package. So this vote is for the package, and
For the
so.
250 through the 200,000 total.
This is the first part to get there.
Thank you. Okay.
We have three parts. This is the first part, and we had to make this decision to make the next decision about workers' comp.
Gotcha.
No, this is the package. This is the general liability, the educator liability, the cybersecurity, the total big
Everything
package.
but workers' comp.
Okay.
Christina and then Johannes.
Christina, I thought it was Christina and Mr. Rickard.
Oh,
Oh, that-
they kind of fought for it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Reichard.
He announced my name.
Okay, are we ready?
All right, we're ready.
Okay, Mr. Gordon,
No.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
No.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes. Motion carries. So for item 11.9,
We will just be filling in the blank to do the.
112,799.
Correct.
$7.99.
Yes, 112,799.
Okay.
I'm quick with the.
Now we need motions. Someone needs to make the motions.
Oh, sorry. So let me present it for the formality, please. The board will take action to approve the workers' compensation insurance through the Seltzer Group / Keystone at a cost of $112,799 as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Mrs. Gordon second.
Who seconded it? Mrs.
Mrs.
Gordon?
Gordon.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
This is for workers' comp, right? Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes, motion carries. Can I just throw something in this section of the discussion? So then the one thing that we've moved through this portion of the agenda and made these decisions, I guess the one thing that I have earmarked in my mind would be the consideration to take a look at that, I don't know what the right term, the COVID, the disease.
Communicable disease.
Thank you, I had it in my head, I just couldn't, thank you. So we'll just earmark that to a note as follow-up, okay. We can explore that, have it for future reference. All right, 11.1, the interscholastic sports insurance.
I'll make that motion.
Even
I'm
get
just
to
going to
my
make it
part
anyway.
yet. The board will take action to approve the interscholastic sports coverage through Yoder Insurance, its Access Insurance Company, at a cost of $10,009 as presented.
Mr. Huron will make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades,
Yes.
Mrs. Fish,
Yes.
Dr. Katachu,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Sure, yes.
Dr. Gursky,
Yes.
Mr. Huron.
Yes?
Getting late.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we have items for consideration, 11.11 through 11.14. We can combine them, or we can have them pulled out separately. So I look to others to make that call.
I make a motion to combine 11.11 through 11.14.
Okay.
second it.
Thank you, and thank you.
Mr. Reichard? Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Katachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Try again. Yes? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we are on to color-coded map here. Okay, 12.9, new hire. Board will take action to approve the employment of Courtney King as family advocate for Danville Head Start at a starting yearly salary of $21,988 effective upon the receipt of all clearances and necessary paperwork.
I make a motion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Katachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard? Mr. Huron?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. So we move on to items 13, 11, right? I got that right. We have a 13.11 and 13.12. We have a motion to combine those, or do we want to vote on those separately? Or have any discussions?
I make a motion to combine 13.11 and 13.12.
Okay, thank you.
I
Web-
second that.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay,
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Dr. Katachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yep.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
yes. Thank you, motion carries.
On behalf of Beard Legal Group, I wanted to thank the board for renewing our office, so thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, thank you.
For your services.
Thank you for you and your
thank you.
team. Okay, item 14, transportation. The board will take action to approve the contract for transportation of school pupils for the 2021 through 2022 through the 2025-26 school years as presented.
I
Thank you.
second.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mrs. Edmeades. Okay,
Dr. Katachu?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Dr. Gursky?
Yes.
Mr. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard? Mrs. Edmeades?
Yes.
Mrs. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
yes, and motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 15, board concerns, comments, or items for next meeting agenda.
Can I just add one thing? I know we did our tuition approval. I don't know, Dr. Boyle, if there's any way we can, again, put the word out about our tuition programs where we can have students come over that are paying from other districts for unique programs, where they can, like our ag program and things like that are
Right, we are working towards advertising that. We talked that in curriculum committee tonight.
great.
So we have things, one additional already approved for diversified occupation in addition to agricultures. And we have also applied for an additional SIP called entrepreneurship. We haven't heard back whether or not that's been approved.
The Senate bill, I think it'll be important as well. Advertise all of our tuition.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could have a further discussion about our committee member discussion that we had about being, our structure for committees, being more consistent with our attendance, being more consistent with how those committees are functioning.
Sure, okay.
I also think that it is important that we, if this has to go to the athletic committee, but I think we need to, since the other contracts were approved, I think we need to work on Sarah's and have that on the next agenda.
Yeah, Chris, let's put that on our agenda for our next athletic committee meeting, please. Thank you.
We also add to that we ensure that HR is a part of the processes for all the applications for all coaches, including volunteer assistants, all of those things, even if it's a one-page application and there's some type of process that we're following. I know with Jonathan, is it Jonathan Adams?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some process that districts follow. I know right now that lives with administration. Dating back to when I was here, it just to consult with him on anything like that.
This time he
clearances
doesn't perform in that function. We do it through administration, even for teachers and others. So we don't
So
do
there's-
that for,
that's really
no,
doesn't
that's,
fall in there.
that's not part of what his duties are.
Is there anyone that can consult with us just on how that process, on that of how we can start to streamline that process?
Yeah, I'll look into it. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, the only thing that I had last meeting, I put out there that anybody that believed that there were secret meetings going on with this board, that I would like for that person or persons to reach out to me in the community to have that discussion. And to date, I haven't had any discussion with anybody. So just want to kind of close that loop right there. Okay. So
Mr.
apparently there's no one that thinks so.
Bobby would like to say something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I just wanted to mention under the consent agenda items, 13.1, there was an MOU with CMSU and Danville School District. We did talk about this prior, but this is our contract confirming we will receive a $12,000 grant to do the two sensory or the emotional support rooms, calming rooms. Thank you. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that we will receive $12,000. It's federal funded. That's
Awesome.
given to CMSU and then given to us.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anybody else on the board? Okay, item 16, second of our regular public comment periods. This is open public comment period. And again, we have nobody virtual. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment that's here tonight? No? Okay, thank you. All right, item 17, adjournment.
I make that motion?
It's a race.
All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.